Good morning and welcome to another episode of Sunday Story. We, together, are making our way through the Jesus Storybook Bible, exploring how the real Bible is one long story that leads us to Jesus. Last week, you'll remember that we all had a lot of our animal friends with us because we were looking at the story of Noah's Ark and how God made a promise to all mankind that he would find a way to put things right. And that finding a way was going to end up costing God rather than us. Well, we continue our way through the Jesus Storybook Bible today as we explore the story of a giant staircase to heaven. I'm a little bit afraid to say it's another story of human beings getting it completely and utterly wrong. But I'm sure by the end of it, we'll see how God has got a wonderful plan. Let's dive in.
A giant staircase to heaven. Noah and his family lived in the land, and his children had children, and those children had more children, and then those children had even more. Well, you get the picture, until there were lots of people on the earth once more.
Now, back then, everyone spoke exactly the same language. So you didn't need to learn Swahili or Japanese or anything, because you could say hello to anyone and they knew what you meant. One day, everyone was talking and they came up with an idea.
One day, everyone was talking and they came up with an idea. Let's build ourselves a beautiful city to live in. It can be our home and we'll be safe forever and ever. Then they each had another idea. Let's build a really tall tower to reach up to heaven.
Yes, they said, we'll say, look at us up here, and everyone will look at us, and we'll look down on them, and then we'll know we are something. We'll be like God, we'll be famous and safe and happy, and everything will be all right. So they got to work.
Brick by brick, the tower grew higher and higher until it soared above the city, touching the sky. They built stairs in the tower to climb to the top. It was like a giant staircase to heaven.
Look, they cheered, we're the ones. See what we can do with our very own hands. They were quite pleased with themselves.
But God wasn't pleased with them. God could see what they were doing. They were trying to live life without him. But God knew that wouldn't make them happy, or safe, or anything. If they kept on like this, they would only destroy themselves. And God loved them too much to let that happen. So he stopped their plans.
One morning, they went to work as usual, but everything was different. Their words were all new and funny. You see, God had given each person a completely different language.
Suddenly, no one understood what anyone else was saying. Someone would say, how do you do? And the other person thought they said, how ugly are you? It wasn't funny. You could be saying something nice like, such a lovely morning, and get a punch in the nose because they thought you said, hush up, you're boring. You couldn't even say pardon to check if you heard right because no one understood that word either.
It wasn't easy to work together after that, as you can imagine. People were always quarrelling and fighting and getting into a dreadful muddle and becoming grumpier and grumpier until at last they were all too cross to keep on building, and it just had to stop.
After that, people scattered all over the world, which is how we ended up with so many different languages to this day. You see, God knew however high they reached, however hard they tried, people could never get back to heaven by themselves. People didn't need a staircase, they needed a rescuer. Because the way back to heaven wasn't a staircase, it was a person.
People could never reach up to heaven, so heaven would have to come down to them. And one day it would.
It's craft time. Can you build a tower? Maybe out of Jenga blocks or Lego or anything else you like. Can you build one taller than mine? Mine is 85 centimetres tall. That's your challenge for this week.
Well, thanks for sticking around until the end. On the screen right now should be some of the crafts that were sent in from last week. We didn't say to send them in, but some of you were so thrilled with what you had done, had enjoyed doing what you did so much that you decided to send them in anyway. So here they are, a variety of different pictures. And if you want to try and send in your record-breaking tower, see if you can beat Ian, then send them in to the same email address. I don't think I've got enough blocks to beat Ian, but there we are.